Hey guys, this is what was it, 7? Part 7 of the platformer tutorial. And so the last video we created the enemy here. Can't do anything with it. So that's what this video is going to be about, being able to attack the enemy. So let's go ahead and get started. So in level 1 state.java, where we update, we have update player, set background, and update enemies. So before that, we're going to actually check if the player is attacking any enemies. So over here, attack enemies, we're going to do player dot, and we're going to make a new function called check attack, and we're going to pass in the array of enemies here, the array list of enemies. So that's what we're going to do now. Go over to player, and we're going to create this function, public void check attack, and we pass in an array list of enemy called enemies, just like that. And basically what we're going to do here is go through the various attacks that we have. So first, check scratch attack, and if scratching, we have to figure out which direction we're facing. If we're facing right, then we're scratching towards the right, and we have to check a different collision box. So first we have to go through all of the enemies. If I is less than 0, I is less than enemies that size, I is equal to 0, I is less than enemies that size, I plus plus. Let's get that enemy, E. And we have to find out whether or not the enemy is within the attack range, scratch attack range, and we can do that with e.getX greater than x, and since it's to the right, so if the enemy is to the right of us, and there's going to be a lot of these actually. If the enemy is to the right of us, and the enemy is less than the right of us plus the range of the attack, the scratch attack, and we also have to check if it's within our y bounds as well. So if the enemy's y position is pretty much on par with our y position, so I'm going to do this e.get y is greater than our height, or ry minus our height, and less than ry plus height. Actually, these should be divided by 2. So what this basically does is it checks to make sure that the enemy is basically right in front of us, like to our right, since we're facing right. And so yeah, that's for that. That's the if. So there's those 4 conditions. This is pretty much the bounding box for the scratch attack. Then we're going to do e.hit and the scratch damage. However, the enemy is going to get hit with scratch damage amount of health points or something. Otherwise, if we're facing the other way. Now you're probably thinking we can put all of this in just one for loop. You can definitely do that, but I don't know. I I like doing it this way for some reason. I guess my main concern was that I'm gonna have a lot of ifs inside the for. I'm not really sure if that's even a concern, a valid concern. But anyway, so if we're facing right, we go through all the enemies and check if it's to the right of us, and if not, then obviously we're going to do the same, except the enemy is to the left of us. So the bounding box in this case would be here is e.getX is less than x, so the enemy is to the left of us, and e.getX is greater than x minus scratch range, so it's within the scratch range bound. And again, the y is going to be greater than y minus height divided by 2, and y minus or plus height divided by 2, which means, you know, it's on the same level as us. Don't forget the ands there. Then E dot hit scratch damage. So that's pretty much that for scratching attack. Now we have to check for fireballs. These are much easier because we don't have to do any of this facing right, facing left stuff. So this one, we need 2 loops for this actually. One for all the fireballs that are currently on active, so we have to loop through the fireballs array. And we need one for looping through the enemies again. So yeah, I could actually just put everything in one array here. I'm gonna do that right now. So just forget all of this stuff. I'm gonna put everything in one array. I is less than enemies.size, I plus plus. So this is the formal enemies array. We're only going to loop through it one time. So we're going to check the scratch attack here. And so if facing right, it's basically this. Well, first let's get the enemy E is equal to enemies that get I. So if scratch attack, if scratching, and if facing right, then we're just going to check this. I'm going to copy and paste this over there. Tabbing is messed up. So that's that. Else, the other one over here is facing left, so I'm going to copy and paste this. There we go. And so E dot hit. So that's for scratching. If and yeah, that's pretty much it for scratching. I can get rid of this now. So what we have up here is loop through enemies and get the enemy up here. First thing we check is the scratch. That's pretty much that. Now we're going to do the fireballs. So it's pretty much the same thing as this, except we don't need this inner loop. So we're just going to do the outer loop here. For int I, we have to loop through all the fireballs. For, yeah, I already used I. J is equal to 0, J is less than fireballs.size, and J plus plus. So now we have to loop through all the fireballs. Get rid of that. So this is what it looks like so far. Loop 3 enemies, scratch attack, fireball attack. So here, this is a lot easier. If fireballs.getI, we already have a function called intersects. So this is just enemies.get I mean. So this is J, fireballs.getJ, and this is enemies.getI. How many is that? 1, 2, 3? Okay, 3. So fireballs.getI.intersects enemies.getI. Get J, I mean. Oh my god. So that's fireballs J, enemies I. So if they intersect, then they've collided, and it's pretty much just enemies.getJ. Wait, I don't even need enemies.getI. I already have enemies up there. This is just fireballs.getJ intersects E. Then E dot hit is pretty much that. It's for fireball damage amount. That was simple. And we can actually set the fireballs that get I, or J I mean, dot set dying, since it hit something. I called it set dying again, it's set hit. If you look back in fireballs.java, we have a function called set hit, and that will go to the hit animation and make sure to remove it. So set hit, same thing happens when it hits a wall, and we want to set it when it hits an enemy. So I guess we can break after this. There's really nothing else. So that's pretty much that. Let me see if this is actually gonna work. So, let me scratch. Nope, that's not working. Well, the fireball is hitting him, but he's not dying. Oh my god, this thing's not dying. Let's see. What did I do? Slugger. I gave him like no health at all. I gave him 2 health. And the fireball does 5 damage. He's not dying. Oh, he probably is dying. Right, he is dying. Except that I'm not removing him. So yeah, so that should be the next thing that we do here. Let's see. Enemy.java. We have hit. That's all fine. If we go back to Slugger, Slugger here. What else? I don't. It's not gonna be in there. So, oh, it's over here, back in level 1 state. When we update enemies, we also have to check if the enemies are dead. So, here, if enemies.getI.isDead, then enemies.removeI and I minus minus. There we go. So now if the enemy is dead, they should just be removed. There we go. So the enemy's gone now. That was the fireball attack. Let me test the scratch attack. Okay, so that works. Oh, and one more thing before I forget. There is something fishy going on with the not on screen function, so I'm going to go ahead and comment this out for now. It's not working properly. It's not a huge deal if I comment it out, so I'm just going to leave it out for now. So that's the enemy getting hit. I want to do one more thing here, and that's pretty much get this explosion animation going whenever an enemy dies. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a new class and entity, and I'm going to call it explosion. Okay, and we're going to import some stuff, java.auth.graphics2d and java.auth.image.bufferedimage, java.x.imagio.imagio. Okay, so this explosion is going to appear in one area, and that's just one position, X and Y. Again, every object should have some kind of thing with the tile map, so X map and Y map, in order to translate to local coordinates. So that's that. Private int width and height. We need an animation to play. I'm not making this an extension of map object because technically it doesn't really need the it doesn't really use the tile map so much. It's just a graphic that plays on the screen whenever an enemy dies, so I'm not going to have extends map object here. It's not really necessary. So we need a buffered image of sprites. It's only going to be one set of sprites that will play one time. Private boolean remove, boolean to let us know whether or not to take it out of the game. And here, explosion int x and y. This is the starting point. This.x and this.y. Width is 30, height is 30, because that's the those are the dimensions for the explosion. Where did I put it? In here? No. Here. This is like an old school explosion animation. So there's 6 frames in here. So let's go ahead and read those in. So we're gonna need to put this in a try catch. Here, e.print stack trace. Okay, so let's start by reading in the sprites. This is just a buffered image sprite sheet, image.io.read, and we're going to read it here. I can't get this tabbing right. So get class, get resource as stream, and this is in slash sprites slash enemies slash explosion.gif. Okay, so that's the sprite sheet. Now we have to split it up into the different frames. So we're going to create a new array of buffered images. And again, this is 6 frames long, so 6. For an I is 0, you're going to use a loop to read all the frames in. This is sprites I is equal to sprite sheet dot get subimage. And this is the I times width, top row, width, and height. That should be it. And we are going to set the animation afterwards. New animation, and set the frames. Animation.setFrames to sprites, and animation.setDelay to, I guess, 70 is fine. So we need public void update in order to update the animation. Animation.update, and we have to check if the animation has played once, and if it has, then we're going to set remove to true to tell us that the explosion should be removed. We also need some way to get that boolean back, so public boolean should remove, and just return remove. Again, we need map position, very important, int x and y. So this is just x map is x, y map is y. And the last thing that we need is to draw the explosion. Public void draw, graphics 2D, G. And this is just g.drawImage. Oh wow. Animation.getImage at position x plus x map minus width divided by 2, y plus y map minus height divided by 2, and null. I spelled width wrong. Okay, so that's that. So let's go ahead back into level 1 state and actually create an array of these. Just like we have an array list of everything. Array list of explosions this time. Explosions. Okay, so in init, we can go ahead and initialize these. Explosions is equal to new array list of explosion. And over here in update, when we update the enemies, if an enemy has died, we remove the enemy and we add a new explosion over here. Explosions.add new explosion, and we're going to give it the enemy's position, e.getX and e.getY. Hopefully you could see that. Let me just move it down here. Okay, so we're going to add a new explosion, e.getX and e.getY. Enemies e is equal to enemies.getI. So I'm going to make a new enemy instance here just to get it. And then I'm just going to replace all this e.update. If e. is dead, then enemies.remove I, that, and then e.getX, e.getY. Yeah, okay, so we needed 3 closing brackets for that. So that's pretty much that. Let's see if it creates an explosion. Oh snap, I got an error here. It threw an exception. So if we go back to explosion, I probably gave it the wrong name. Sprites? Enemy. I spelled enemies wrong. Okay. And it's not drawing anything. Right! I keep forgetting to draw these things. Draw enemies over here. Draw explosions. This is in level 1 state.draw. So we need a loop to draw all the explosions. Enemy explosions.getI.draw G. And before I forget, I also need to update all explosions. So I'm going to do that up here. Right after we update all the enemies, update explosions. Same thing. Explosions.size, I++, explosions.update, or not explosions, update, explosions.getI.update. So that should be it, hopefully. There we go. Oh snap, it's still here. Right, we didn't remove it. We have to remove it. So in updates, here we have to check if the explosion should be removed. So if explosions.getI.shouldRemove, that's the function that we just created earlier to tell us if we should remove it or not. Then if we should remove it, then explosions.remove I minus minus. Hopefully that's the last thing. There we go. So that's pretty much that. And let's go ahead and start filling up the level with a bunch of enemies. Over here, I'm going to do a init. Right after I set the player, I'm going to create a new function called populate enemies. This is just so I can keep everything organized. So I'm going to remove enemies here and create it down here. Private void populate enemies. And here we're just going to fill up the enemies array. So enemies is equal to new array list of enemy slugger s. So I've figured out where to put all these snails at. So s is equal to new slugger tilemap s.setPosition, and this one's at 860 and 200. I could just use an array here. Nah, that's fine. So enemies.add. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna use an array here. So java.point an array of these is equal to new java.point. Here, let's go ahead and make a new point, and this one's at 860, 200, and this one's at 1525, 200. This one is at let's get rid of this java.ot and just import point. Go back up here all the way to the top, import wait, I already have that imported, don't I? New point. Oh wait, I need that. There we go. So points equal to new point array. We're just gonna fill it up. 860, 200, 1525, 200, 1680, 200, and 1800, 200. So that's pretty much that. So we can have an array, a loop to go through this array. So I is less than points.length, I++, and then we're going to do s is equal to new slugger, tilemap, s.setPosition, points.x, or points i.x, and points i.y, and add s. So that's just going to fill up the enemies with a bunch of these, with 4 sluggers basically at these positions. Let's see what we have here. I'm going to try to center it as best I can. Okay. So enemy 1 should be up here. Cool. Get rid of that. What? The explosion didn't play. That's interesting. What about this guy? No explosion either. There's no explosions. Alright. Okay, so one more thing. I forgot again. I always forget something. Over here, when we draw, we never set the map position, X map and Y map. So let's go ahead and just do that. Back in level 1 state, explosions.getI.update. I guess we can do it down here when we draw the explosions. Explosions.set or get I.set map position. And this is just tilemap.getX and tilemap.getX and tilemap.getY. Oh, these should be ints. So cast these to int. There we go. Hopefully I didn't forget anything else. Let's see if the explosions are there now. It better be there. There it is, okay. There's one there. Boom. Okay, so it's all working. It's all working fine. So, we can actually go ahead and do one more thing. And that is to get hit by the enemies. So over here, we're going to create a new test enemy. This is going to be a point, where did the enemy start? Player starts at 100, 100. We're going to set this at 200, 100. So it's going to be right next to us. So we can test the collision. Now we're going to have this collision check for the player so that the player can get hit as well. So back in player.java, over where we check the attacks, we can actually, all the way at the end of this check attack function, we can check for enemy collision. Or, I mean, I'm going to do it up here because we already have the loop for the enemies. So check enemy collision here. So if basically this is just if intersects E. If we intersect with the enemy, then we're going to get hit ourselves with however much damage the enemy does. E.get damage. What's this? Hit is undefined for player? I didn't create the hit function for this. For player. That's funny. Anyway, let's go ahead and do that. Public void hit int damage. This is pretty much the same as the enemy here. So this is just if flinching, then we're going to return, because we don't want to get hit while we're flinching. Otherwise, we're going to subtract from health the amount of damage done, and just make sure it doesn't go below 0. Otherwise, there could be some potential bugs. If health is equal to 0, then we're dead. True. Flinching is true. And we set the flinch timer. System.nanotime. Let's see if we can get hit by this thing. There we go. Uh-oh. He keeps flinching. I have permanent invincibility. Okay, so we need to check that we've actually stopped flinching. So over in update over here, update fireball attack, update fireballs. I guess we can do it right here before setting the animation. Check done flinching over here. And so if flinching, then we have to find out how long it's been since we last started flinching. System.nanotime minus flinch timer divided by 1,000,000, because we want it in milliseconds. And if elapsed is greater than I guess 1,000, 1 second of invincibility should be fine. flinching is false, then we're not flinching anymore after 1 second. Okay, let's see. So I get hit, cool. Okay, I stop flinching, I keep getting hit. That's cool. Alright, so that, obviously everything's working. So, that's pretty much it for now. In the next video, I guess... oh, right, I've been working on some music for this game. I'm working on the background music for this level. It's a work in progress. And in the next video, I'm going to show you how to include audio with your game. So, yeah, thanks for watching.